The courtroom fell silent when the daughter pointed at her own mother. Not a stranger. Not an enemy. Her mother. "She did it," the daughter said. Her voice didn't shake. Her eyes didn't move. Every person in the courtroom turned toward the woman sitting at the defense table. The mother didn't speak, didn't cry. She only stared at her daughter, like she didn't recognize the person standing there. Because 10 minutes earlier, that same daughter had sworn under oath that her mother had ruined everything. The prosecutor leaned closer to the witness stand. "You're certain about what you're saying?" The daughter nodded. "Yes." The room filled with whispers. A daughter accusing her own mother. It sounded unbelievable, but it also sounded powerful. Before we continue, subscribe to the Unheard Witness. And because sometimes the truth hides in the places nobody thinks to look. The prosecutor turned toward the jury. The witness grew up in the same house as the defendant. He gestured toward the daughter. "She knows her mother better than anyone." The jurors watched closely. Family testimony always carried weight. The prosecutor spoke again. "Tell the court what happened that night." The daughter took a breath. It started with an argument. The courtroom listened carefully. "My mother and my stepfather were fighting." The mother lowered her eyes. The daughter continued. "They argued about money, about debts." The prosecutor nodded. "And what happened next?" The daughter swallowed. "I heard something break." The jurors leaned forward. "So I went downstairs." She paused. When I reached the kitchen, my stepfather was on the floor." A murmur spread through the gallery. "And your mother?" The daughter looked toward the defense table again. "She was standing there." The prosecutor asked quietly, "Was she holding anything?" The daughter nodded. "A knife." The courtroom froze. The mother's hands tightened around the edge of the table. The prosecutor stepped closer. "What did she say?" The daughter's voice dropped. "She said it was an accident." The prosecutor turned toward the jury. But the medical report showed the wound was deliberate. The room felt heavier because the story sounded complete, clear, direct. The prosecutor asked one final question. "Did your mother ask you to lie about what you saw?" The daughter hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yes." The jurors exchanged glances. The prosecutor stepped back. No further questions. The courtroom buzzed quietly, because when a daughter accuses her own mother, people assume she must be telling the truth. The judge looked toward the defense. "Counsel?" The defense lawyer stood slowly. He didn't rush. He didn't raise his voice. He simply walked toward the witness stand. The daughter watched him carefully. "Good afternoon," he said. She nodded. "Good afternoon." The lawyer placed his hands lightly on the rail beside the stand. "You've told the jury that you saw your mother holding a knife?" "Yes." "And your stepfather was already on the floor?" "Yes." "You're certain about that?" "Yes." The lawyer nodded. "You also told police the same story?" "Yes." The lawyer glanced at his notes. "Immediately after the incident?" "Yes." The daughter looked calm, confident. The lawyer asked another quiet question. "How old were you at the time?" 19. "And you had been living at home?" "Yes." "With your mother and stepfather?" "Yes." The lawyer nodded slowly. "Were things peaceful in the house?" The daughter hesitated. "Not always." The lawyer looked toward the jury. "Arguments were common?" "Yes." "Between your mother and stepfather?" "Yes." The lawyer turned back to her. "Were you close with your stepfather?" The daughter paused again. "Yes." The lawyer noticed the hesitation. You cared about him. Yes? The lawyer took a step closer. And you didn't always agree with your mother. The daughter frowned slightly. No. The lawyer nodded. Let's talk about the moment you entered the kitchen. The courtroom was completely still. You said you saw your stepfather on the floor. Yes. And your mother holding the knife. Yes. The lawyer lifted a photograph, the kitchen from the crime scene. Where were you standing? The daughter pointed. By the doorway. The lawyer studied the image. From there, could you see the counter? Yes. And the sink? Yes. And the floor where your stepfather fell? Yes. The lawyer nodded. So your view was clear? Yes. The lawyer turned another page. Did you notice anything else? The daughter shook her head. No. No broken objects? No. No overturned chairs? No. The lawyer paused, then asked quietly, You didn't see the glass on the floor? The daughter blinked. What glass? The lawyer held up another photo, shards scattered across the kitchen tile. The daughter looked confused. I don't remember that. The lawyer nodded. That's interesting. The prosecutor shifted in his seat. The lawyer continued calmly. Because the police report mentions a shattered drinking glass near the sink. The daughter swallowed. I must have missed it. The lawyer nodded again. Perhaps. He returned to the table and picked up something else. A small notebook. Worn. Faded. The prosecutor immediately stood. Objection. The judge looked at the defense. What is that? The lawyer held the notebook carefully. This was found in the victim's office. The judge frowned. And? The lawyer opened the cover. It's a diary. The courtroom murmured. The prosecutor spoke quickly. This was never entered into evidence. The lawyer nodded. That's correct. He looked toward the judge. Because no one realized what it contained. The judge leaned forward. Explain. The lawyer flipped to a marked page. The diary belonged to the victim. The courtroom grew quiet again. Because the victim in this case was the stepfather, the man found on the kitchen floor. The lawyer spoke slowly. In the months before the incident, he wrote regularly. He held the page toward the judge. About family arguments. The daughter stared at the notebook. Her confidence started to fade. The lawyer continued. One entry stands out. He cleared his throat, then began reading. Emily and I argued again tonight. She's furious about the money I borrowed from her mother. The courtroom turned toward the daughter. Emily, her name. The lawyer turned another page. He wrote something else 3 days later. He read again. Emily keeps threatening to expose everything. She says she'll tell her mother about the debts. The prosecutor stepped forward. Your Honor, but the judge raised a hand. Continue. The lawyer flipped to the final entry, written the day before the incident. The courtroom felt completely still. The lawyer read slowly. Emily says, if I don't fix this, she'll make sure my wife takes the blame. The room exploded with whispers. The daughter's face went pale. The lawyer closed the diary gently, then asked the quiet question that changed everything. Emily, did you know your stepfather kept a diary? She didn't answer. The lawyer looked directly at her. Did you argue with him about money? Her voice trembled. No. The lawyer opened the diary again. There's another entry. He turned the page. Emily broke a glass tonight during the argument. The courtroom gasped softly. The lawyer looked toward the photograph again, the one showing broken glass across the kitchen floor. Then he looked back at the daughter. You said you didn't remember broken glass. Her hands gripped the edge of the witness stand. The lawyer spoke quietly, but someone broke that glass during the argument. The daughter's breathing changed. The judge leaned forward slowly, because the story that once sounded clear was suddenly full of cracks, and all of it began when the court opened one small diary.